Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to this video titled Solving Problems with Proportions. And during this video, you will need to get out your math book and turn to page 179, get out your math journal and a pencil. Now the goal for this video is for you to be able to use ratio and rate reasoning to solve real world and mathematical problems. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to take a look at what a proportion actually is. So a proportion is a statement that two ratios or rates are equivalent. So when we set it up, 1 to 3 and 2 to 6 are equivalent ratios. So when we set it up, 1 to 3 equals 2 to 6, that is a proportion. Now, we're going to take a look at a few math problems today where we're going to set up a problem as a proportion, and then we'll be able to find that missing piece using a certain method that I think you'll find very helpful. So let's take a look at the first problem here. This is on the bottom of page 179. Now it says the members of the PTA are ordering pizza for a meeting. They plan to order 2 cheese pizzas for every 3 pepperoni pizzas they order. How many cheese pizzas will they order if they order 15 pepperoni pizzas? So the thing we do not know about and the number of cheese pizzas. So this may seem very confusing, but you need to figure out the ratios that are in this problem. So what we have here is 2 cheese for every 3 pepperoni is going to equal, now when you're setting this up as a proportion, you have to make sure that the labels are the same. Okay, so 2 cheese, 3 pepperoni is going to equal 15 pepperoni, but we don't know how many cheese pizzas there are. So we'll call this X. We don't know that number there. So in order to figure out what this is, we've talked about in previous lessons that you can multiply 3 times a certain number to get to 15 and then multiply 2 by that number and we'll get that missing number as well. However, when you set it up like this, one thing that you can do, because it's not, 3 is not going to always go into whatever that number is, okay? So what we can do is we cross multiply first, and we're going to cross multiply that 2 times 15. Okay, so we take 2 times 15. That's going to give us 30. Okay, then the next step is you divide by the number that you did not cross multiply with. Okay, you divide by that other number. Divide that by 3, and that will give you 10, and that gives you the missing amount of cheese pizzas for this problem. So how many cheese pizza will they order? If they order 15 pepperoni pizzas, 10 cheese pizzas. We'll write that down for number 1 here. Okay, so the key tip for this, you have to set up your ratios. You have to have the units set up the same way as well. So we can see cheese pizza, pepperoni, pepperoni. Cross multiply and then divide by that other number. Take a look at another one. This one you can see is on the bottom of page 180. It says Miss Reynolds' sprinkler system has 9 stations that water all the parts of her front and back lawn. Each station runs for an equal amount of time. If it takes 48 minutes for the first 4 stations to water, how long does it take to water all parts of her lawn? So what we're going to do, we're going to set up our ratios. So we have 4 stations, 48 minutes is going to equal 9 stations, but we don't know how many minutes. Okay, so when you're working through this problem, you have to write down your proportion. You have to line up your units. Okay, you can see station, station, minutes, minutes. That is the key. If you flip these around and you have minutes across some stations and stations across some minutes, this is not going to work. So the first thing you do, you want to cross multiply 9 times 48. Why do you do 9 times 48? Because you can't cross multiply anything by 4 because there's nothing to cross multiply with. Okay, so we take 9 times 48. We'll write this out. That's going to give you 432. Now, that's not the answer for x yet. What we have to do is we got to divide by that number we did not involve with our multiplication problem. Divide by that other number. So we take 432 and we divide that by 4, and that gives us 108. Okay, so we can see 4 into 48 is going to equal 9, not 4 into 48, but 4 to 48 is going to equal 9 to 108. And you can see setting up like this is helpful because 4 does not go into 9 evenly. So that makes it very tough to figure out what we have to multiply that 48 by in order to get to 108. So when we set it up as a proportion, cross multiply and then divide, that gives you that number very easily. So that shows us how long does it take? 108 minutes. Let's look at some other problems here. And this is on page 182. Question 3. So it says, Layla and Joe are two of the partners in a business. Layla makes $3 in profits for every $4 that Joe makes. If Joe makes $60 profit on the first item they sell, how much profit does Layla make? So we have, this is 3 for Layla, and we have 4 for Joe. That's going to equal, we know it's $60 for Joe, but we don't know how much for Layla. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we set it up as a proportion already. Remember, we can see all of our units are right across from each other. We're going to cross multiply 3 times 60. That's going to give me 180. Okay, and then the next thing you need to do is you got to divide that 180 by the number that you did not cross multiply anything with, which was the 4. And you can see that will give you $45. Okay, and that would give you the value for the missing amount, or would help you answer the question of how much profit does Layla make. We can see $45. Now let's look at the problem on page 182, number 6. So again, we're going to set this up as a proportion and repeat in a repeating musical pattern. There are 56 beats and 7 measures. So that's our ratio, 56 beats, 7 measures. How many measures are there in 104 beats? So what we do is we take 104 beats, we line it up with the 56 beats, and then we don't know how many measures there are. So first step again, we take that 7 and we cross multiply it by 104. So 7 times 104 is going to equal 728. And then what we do is we take that 728 and we're going to divide that by 56. Remember, it's the number that we did not use in our multiplication problem, 56. And we can see that that is 13. And that gives us the value for the missing unit here, the missing number. So 13 measures. So how many measures are there in 104 beats? 13 measures. We'll write that in. So the final problem we're going to look at is actually on page 181, and this is just using proportional relationships to find distance on a map. So if we can see the distance between Sandville and Lewistown is shown on the map. So we can see Sandville, Lewistown, 2.5 inches. What is the actual distance between the towns? So we need to figure out what the scale is. The scale is 1 inch equals 20 miles. So what we will do is set this up as a proportion. 1 inch, 20 miles, which means that will equal 2.5 inches, which is shown on the map. And we don't know how many miles that equals. So again, set it up as a proportion, cross multiply 20 times 2.5. And what we have for that is 50. So we cross multiplied the 20 times 2.5 here. And then we're going to divide by that other number we did not cross multiply with, which is 1. And that's going to give us 50. So 50 for the value of x there. So what's the actual distance between towns? We can see 50 miles in between towns. We'll write that in for question 3 on page 181. Now, this concludes the video for 7.2, solving problems with proportions. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.